Hello everyone, so before I do the new set, I wanted to make a quick video on social anxiety and such, just some things I've been thinking on this morning. I'll decorate myself in art. So, I have always had such an insane amount of social anxiety that it straight up just left me floored basically for quite a while, quite a long time. And basically through my whole 20s, I have always had, it ties into my generalized anxiety issue where I've always been an extreme hypochondriac, had panic attacks, always think that I have a heart attack or cancer and all kinds of physical symptoms because panic attacks are very physical. But as far as ruminating, that is what a lot of social anxiety comes from, rumination, where you replay interactions in your head after, and you are always worried about making... For me, I just didn't want attention. I wanted people to know I was different, but not give me attention. Because if I dressed all normal, I would be approached and talked to, sort of, and more. So I would dress a little bit different, weirder, wearing even just a hat or something. Just for, I don't know, I always wanted to be different, but not in a way that was popular. And I would say that in high school I had a normal amount of friends because just through school and my neighborhood, I still know people from my childhood. But see, my childhood friends, I didn't make that many new friends in college because I was so anxious. My whole thing with college was, in high school I wasn't one of the cool guys, but I can be in college maybe, as long as I'm not lame or a dork or whatever. And college doesn't work like that, but I didn't know at the time because I was 17. I went to college at 17 instead of 18, so I wasn't even a legal adult when I went to college. And man, dude, I had all kinds of problems, and it was all social anxiety, suicide because of things, dumb things I'd said. For me, it's always about things that I said in class. I hate saying dumb things in class, but I talk in class a lot because I figure it's kind of what you're paying for. The information is free. You're paying for the environment. Because we're in the information era, right? So you don't have to go to some monk's house to read a bunch of books. You don't have to go to some scribe's institution. So, but the environment always left me floored. I spent most of my time in college alone in my room getting high and playing video games. And that's how I spent most of my 20s. What I would do is I would be kind of like Aristotle said, where it's you have one or two close friends and a romantic partner. So you have a girlfriend and then a couple close friends. And then besides that, I hid. After the beginning of freshman year, because every time I said something dumb in a group of people, I just couldn't ever get over it. I just couldn't. I would say something because, I came to college pro-life and all kinds of stuff, and I'm still ambiguous on it. If you want to know what I think on abortion, it's that men, I just don't feel like I can understand it as a guy. So I just think that, all the women should vote on it. I don't know, whatever they want. They're the ones who go through it. And there's a lot of pro-life women, right? So I can't be like, oh, I'm pro-choice because women's rights when I know more pro-life women than I know pro-choice women. So it's for me it hasn't always been like that. So when I went to college and I'm pro-life, it's like all of a sudden I'm like a chauvinistic douche, right? And I'm like, but it's women who made me more pro-life. Like it was my girlfriends who told me like if they got pregnant they wouldn't kill the baby or whatever. So it was all just really confusing and I hated feeling ostracized. So I quickly changed all my views to just fit whatever the mold was because like I said, I just want to stay under the radar and do my thing. You know, and like I'll sneak off with a cute girl at a party and then that's all you'll see me. You know, that was always like I've always liked one-on-one and hated groups. So if you have social anxiety in regards to one-on-one, I can't help you. If you have social anxiety in regards to groups, I can help you. Because that's what I always had. Always. I hated parties. When I go to parties, when I'm single, the only thing I do is I just try to find people who aren't in the group. So like a guy who's chilling playing some puzzle game or something, like putting a puzzle together. I'll go hang out with the people who aren't in the big groups. And, you know, I don't try to meet girls. I just meet... I'm just trying to hang out off to the side. So I usually meet shy people. Like, my guy friends who aren't from college, typically we met because we're both not in the middle of the fray. You know, at meetups and stuff like that. So... how did I overcome group anxiety? Well, the first thing I would recommend doing is traveling alone. That's like the main thing. And it doesn't cost... what it costs is your time away. So if you have an apartment or if you have a job and all that. But I would recommend if you find yourself in between jobs or something, it doesn't matter where. Go to the next town over. You know, if you live in LA, go to Tijuana. You can get there in a day. And you learn to be... what helped me with traveling is that there's a reset button. So when I was traveling in Europe, I could hang out with groups because if I was an idiot, I could just be with a totally new group of people the next day and not care. So I did make mistakes, and I did say dumb things, probably that only I remember, right? You're always the only one who remembers. It's very rare for me to actually meet someone who remembers what I said. Like, people are more concerned about their own stupid things that they said. And I can't remember any stupid thing other people said, I just remember the ones I said. But most people are like that. So it's like, you're torturing yourself. And I had it really bad where it didn't affect my social life, it affected my personal life, or my professional life, because I always thought that my professors hated me. God. And I only just recently got over that and started talking to my old professors. So, 6 years. For 7 years. For 7 years, from 2014 to 2021... I wouldn't use any of my college networking. Any. Not with students and not with professors. Because I was so ashamed that I didn't go to Harvard. Because my professor told me that if I worked hard enough, I could go. I didn't really want to, and I didn't. I felt like a failure, and so I just never... because I never went to grad school. I never even tried. I took the LSAT and got some high score on it, but didn't want to be a lawyer. So I could have gone to some amazing law school, and I just didn't want to. And so I was always so ashamed and humiliated. But I realize now that people respect me more for taking my own path and doing what I wanted. People... now that I'm 29 and I have my life figured out, right? And I can support myself and everything just on contract, like independent contract work. It's like, people respect me more for not doing what everyone else told me to do. But you have to be happy. Or at least somewhat, like if you're just a train wreck, then no. But, I never wanted to talk to anybody again because I just felt like I had all this opportunity that people work so hard to get. Like, what did I have? I had a cum laude degree from a top 10 liberal arts school college, and then I had letters of recommendation from professors, and I had like a writing award from my school too. And I just didn't do anything. I graduated college, I got high every day, I played video games, and I hung out. That's all I did. Because that's all I ever wanted to do. That's all I ever wanted to do. So when I got out of college, it was like, oh wait, hold on. Now that you're an adult, you're supposed to do what you want to do. Not what your parents want you to do. Not what your teachers want you to do. Not even what society wants you to do. And I was like, well, I don't want to do anything. Because I'm too anxious. I hate networking because you always make mistakes. And I realize now, guys, that if you don't care, it's a lot of the whole thing where things are as awkward as you make them. You have to realize that most people aren't thinking about you. And when they are, it's all about the impression they get from you. So if you think, you have to know the truth. Like, I feel that I'm kind of hard inside. So when I say something that comes off bad, it's fine. And it turns out that that's what most of the people in my college, like, everybody, I heard later from people, like, people thought that I was a good guy, just like a shy guy who doesn't talk much. But, in my world, everyone thought I was the biggest loser in town. The biggest loser in town. That's all I felt like. Ever. So I guess I'll leave it with that. With, like, it really affected my life so much. And it's delusional, It's like it's like anxiety-driven delusions. Because I just couldn't stop ruminating on what people thought of me. Because I wanted to be respected. And I didn't feel like I could live up to the expectations because I didn't want those expectations. To go to Harvard, you have to want it. You have to want to go, And it's like, but I don't... Like, the school that produced Mark Zuckerberg, I have no interest in. So it's kind of just like, whatever, They didn't seem to teach him much besides how to code. So it's like, okay... No offense, sorry, I don't mean to sound like a dick, or like a pompous dick, but Mark Zuckerberg, he went to Harvard and he doesn't know much about politics. Like, it's obvious that he didn't study political science. He studied computer software, or, he studied computer science and a lot of other stuff, but political philosophy, he talks like an undergrad. Like an undergrad who didn't study political philosophy. So... His level of knowledge on politics is not up to par with his level of knowledge of computer science, and a true liberal arts college would have made Mark Zuckerberg understand how important politics was going to be in his life, and understanding government and understanding everything. I don't think he's a bad guy. He just has an overly simplistic view because he spent most of his time coding. And so he's sticking to his guns, which I don't mind the guns in principle, the right to lie, basically the right to lie. But anyway, I don't mean to rant on Zuck. The main thing is that why do people respect Zuckerberg? Because he just was who he was. He's like, well, I'm making Facebook, so do you want to come with me or not? And even if he did want to come with you, he would still fuck you over if he didn't like you, like his friend. Or if you were dumb. Like if you made bad business decisions. So, people will get a good impression from you if you're passionate about something. And you care. And, I just realized that the shame, like, fear is the mind killer, It's just like Dune. Dune, fear is the mind killer. You're afraid of what people think. Whereas I realized that the only person who can really hurt me is myself. Like, the only person who can really hurt me with a bad opinion of myself is me. Because if another person has a bad opinion of me, I know that it's because of how I acted. But when it's in my head, it's who I am and how I am. So my main piece of advice is to remember that other people aren't thinking about you much, and realize that you're your own worst enemy in regards to social anxiety. And that some people are judgmental, but most aren't. And I would very much recommend getting out of your shell through traveling. When you're traveling alone, you can't... There's nowhere to hide. You're in a hostel, right? There's nowhere to hide. You're always around other people. Strangers. It made me a lot better at talking. A lot better. So yeah, cool.